Ever since the morning of November 9th, 2016, the feeling I feel the most is anger. Anger at a country that has failed me and people who look like me for centuries. As I walked around campus that morning, I saw my peers, young Americans of a multitude of different backgrounds, fearful of what this meant for themselves and for their families. Heads hung low, shortening the distance that tears had to travel before they graced the earth. I recall that some people cautioned of catastrophizing, showcasing hope that the results of the election would not actually bear any ill fruit. But now, over a year later, as they were then, those tears are justified. I'd be curious to see the figures on how this past year has affected the mental health of those subject to the round-the-clock absurdity of this nation. It is almost humorous to look at presidential debates from decades past and observe the relative decorum that even the then radical belief-holding candidates operated with. Now, I am not one to romanticize the past, but what we are seeing here on a regular basis should by no means ever be considered normal. It is an era of unchecked cruelty. Ever since that morning, we have been seeing the pinnacle of the potential folly of the two-party system. Unmitigated division. Now, I know how ugly politics can get. I've ran and lost 3 student council campaigns myself. But obviously, the stakes here are a lot higher than getting to decide the theme for some high school prom. Now, it has been 23 years since a Democrat has won a statewide election in Texas. The man who currently occupies the Senate seat we are after is an incumbent Republican with national name recognition. That's the stage. That's what we are up against. Now, in most cases, this would be daunting, but allow me to remind you exactly what we've got. We've got a man who has made it a personal hobby of his to turn the improbable into a reality. A man who went from punk rock to politics, who co-founded a tech startup in El Paso. A man who is running a successful political campaign in 2018 without taking a single corporate dollar. But most importantly, we have a man who has built an entire career out of defeating incumbents. You see, unlike me, our guy hasn't lost an election. That's 2 incumbents down, so what big issue does one more pose? We are living in a time when so many of our elected officials have looked up at the national climate and taken the opportunity to double down, hide from their constituents, and simply ride this wave out. On the contrary, there is a U.S. Senate hopeful from West Texas who possesses the character traits of integrity and tenacity. That's what we have. Congressman O'Rourke is a man who possesses the unfortunately rare quality of recognizing the basic humanity of immigrants, and further, the humanity of those victim to the private prison system and the war on drugs. He is the real deal. He knows that we need to ensure legal protections for the LGBTQIA community. He knows that it is a woman's right to choose. He embodies the grit, the poise, the strength, and the courage that is synonymous with our great state. We face an opponent, Ted Cruz, who time and time again, through his actions and his policy, has shown to us that he is not only complacent, but actively relishes and takes part in the absurdity that this country generates. For us here in Texas come these ever-important midterm elections. We have an amazing opportunity to trade up. So while this may be a David and Goliath story, we are packing one hell of a slingshot. With each passing morning, it becomes clearer that this political system that we have has its faults. But if we are simply waiting around to build something new out of the ashes of the old, then those in society that are already the most disadvantaged end up as the kindling on that funeral pyre. We need actionable change now. So in this moment, we take up this battle together. To whoever's ears these words may fall upon, we cannot let that anger I have felt, that we have all felt, pull us down into a state of political nihilism We need to further organize before there is no semblance of reason left to salvage. So on the morning of November 7th, 2018, let it be known that your efforts, our words, and his beliefs will have helped deliver a decisive blow towards paving the path to a renewed America.